Well, modest economic growth, consumer spending on the rise, and unemployment numbers on a roller coaster ride. The Great Recession may be over, but many people still aren't seeing the results in their own wallets. And here with some insight on what all the latest federal reports mean, it's Dr. Carl Bonham from the University of Hawaii Economic Research Organization. Good morning to you. Good morning. And so let's summarize. There was a large amount of economic news that came out this week. Quickly.
Yeah, so we earlier in the week we got the unemployment data for the state. Then in the middle of the week, the Federal Reserve had a two-day meeting and they released new forecasts for their policy for the next several years. And then this morning we got the GDP report from the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis.
Okay, let's start with the GDP report, and not good.
Well, it wasn't as good as what people had hoped. Overall output in the fourth quarter of last year was estimated to grow at 2.8%. The problem with that is that almost all of it, 2 percentage points of that, was from building up inventories. In other words, making things in the fourth quarter that you didn't sell, which means that you don't have to make things in the first quarter, which means you don't have to hire workers in the first quarter.
So, well, going along with that, what does the forecast mean then as far as the future?
Yeah, so not only did GDP not grow very fast, but also people don't expect it to grow very fast in 2012, and the Fed lowered its forecast for GDP growth. And then they did something new this week. They produced forecasts for what they think policy will be over the next 3 or 4 years. And essentially they said, we don't think interest rates are going up probably until 2014. So short-term interest rates near zero for the next several years, because they think the economy is going to remain relatively stagnant with slow growth, relatively high unemployment rates for the next several years.
I guess the only thing we can glean from that is that they're still seeing some growth, even though it'll be
they're also yes, we're growing, but they're also looking at additional policy action. So given the weak GDP numbers, given their outlook on inflation and unemployment, I think it's pretty certain that we're going to see more action from the Fed in the spring to try and push long-term interest rates, mortgage rates down even further.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the unemployment numbers, because it's kind of confusing. I know that we're seeing Hawaii unemployment numbers rise, yet the rest of the nation is seeing them falling.
That's right. Beginning in the summer, so basically Hawaii added jobs in second half of 2010, beginning of 2011. Beginning in the summer, after the tsunami in Japan, after a slowdown in visitor arrival growth and spending growth in the middle of the summer with rising oil prices, dismay over what was going on in Washington, D.C., we started to see job losses in Hawaii and the unemployment rate rising. And it's something that we don't expect to continue, but it's not a real positive sign about the overall health of Hawaii's economy.
Okay, not the greatest news on this Aloha Friday, but reality. But let's think positive, and we should see some fraction of some growth, right? Okay, thank you, Dr. Bonham, for coming in this morning. And find out what else the economists at UHERO are tracking by heading to their Facebook page. And you can also find a link to their website on the As Seen On section of KITV.com.